I'll start this off the right way. Good morning. My name is Sandy McDonald, and I'm the Director of the Office of Economic and Small Business Development. And thank you for joining us this morning for Surviving COVID-19. The plan for this morning is to give you some tips, some information from some of the Broward certified businesses and from some of the businesses in Broward County in South Florida. We're asking some of our business community who also have faced the challenges, and some who have conquered, some who are still going through, some who are still making decisions about, do I pivot left, do I pivot right, do I shut this down? We're asking our businesses to come on today to share information with you that we hope will be valuable in your own decisions about where you're going, how you're going, tools to use. The reason this is so important is that we do recognize, unfortunately, COVID, which is here, isn't going anywhere. But as a community, safely as a community, specifically as a business community, we have to re-engage the opportunities to not only continue to do business for the consumer's sake, but we have to do business for our own sake as business owners. So again, we recognize that as an audience, you may be faced with challenges. You're still trying to realize, do you upscale? Do you downsize? Do you pivot? I want you to just hear from some of our businesses in our community and throughout South Florida who have their own story. And again, all stories may not have that happy ending, and not necessarily happy like it's of glee. They may not have that ending that may sound as if what they've worked for, all of the investment they put in, has come to an end, but it may have been the right decision, which direction they're now deciding to go. So we just wanted to come to you this morning, share some information. I have a rock star group of businesses, unique in different industries, some with county contracts, some without county contracts, some are full-fledged going again, some are still partially going, but they are just going to share with you their story. And they're bringing this to you in a quick soundbite, 5 minutes or less. We will lead you to our website, where you can find out more about these individual businesses, about their services, and certainly contact information that if you as a business need to catch up with them, if you want to follow up with them, if you eventually want to do business with them, many of them will be more than available, will avail themselves to you to share more information. And again, you will be able to get that off of our website here at the county. Announcements, let's see. This is a virtual workshop we're having, but coming up on the 21st. Please use that bcoesbd.eventbrite.com. We're doing our 49 CFR, which is the federal regulation under the ACDBE program. And we've done a couple of focus groups, but on the 21st, we're going to be doing a larger public meeting to talk about the airport and the Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program. I'll be presenting, but more importantly, and certainly greater than I, you'll be hearing from Mark Gale, the CEO and president of Fort Lauderdale International Airport, and he'll be sharing information about the direction and where we're going. And yes, unfortunately, our airport, as well as many of the airports across the country, we're struggling now due to the reduction in travel, but we do expect to have that greater day again. So we expect to make sure that as we administer the federal program, we have ACDBEs who can participate, minority and women-owned businesses who can participate in the concession opportunities at the airport. So we certainly want you to join us for that public meeting, and also take the survey. We want to hear if you have interest in the airport, interest in being a concessionaire, if you tried to be before. We just want to get some more information. So that's important for you to know. And again, it's still that time of the year, Census 2020. As an office, as a county, as businesses, as residents, we understand the importance of assuring that over the next decade, the dollars that need to be allocated to this community find their way to this community. That only starts with making sure every resident and everyone eligible to be counted is counted. So please, as businesses, the county has put a challenge out to all the businesses in the county. Allow 10 to 15 minutes for each of your employees to complete the census. Find some time to allow them to make sure that this commitment to assure that the resources that find their way to Broward County finds their way to Broward County. So first, we're going to have as one of our speakers, Miss Terry Ann McKenzie. She runs a janitorial firm, and Miss McKenzie's going to come to us again for 5 minutes or less, but she's going to try to give you the substance of who she is and what she's been doing during this COVID period. Miss McKenzie, thank you for joining us. Welcome, and the floor is yours for 5 minutes, ma'am.
Good morning, everybody. There's an echo. My name is Terry Ann McKenzie. I own and operate McKenzie's Cleaning Incorporated. We've been doing business with Broward County for about 5 years. We've served in the capacity as a subcontractor to bigger firms, as well as a standalone prime. During this pandemic, first off, we were caught off guard. We were not prepared and found ourselves scrambling because there were a lot of things that shifted in the industry, in the janitorial industry. We had employees that were scared to come to work, and then we had employees with underlying health issues that could not return to work. So we had to find a way to retain our employees, as well as employ new employees to do cleaning in a pandemic. That was a little difficult. Some of the challenges that we have been facing during this time is that prices have gone up. We have seen an increase in PPE products. For example, we used to pay about $57 a case for gloves, and now a case of gloves can run for $185, $210. So that's a significant increase. And this was not something that we were prepared for in contract. When we're preparing a contract, or, making plans for a pandemic. So, of course, what we considered profit is now being cut into because of these unforeseen incidents. Another problem that we're facing is that we've been doing business with local firms as far as buying our supplies, but these manufacturers are now selling to the general public, so they too are running out of supplies. So we've been forced to look elsewhere, and as a new company with a new manufacturer, your price is not going to be what you have with an established manufacturer.
I'm trying to reach you concerning your car's extended warranty. You should have received something in the mail about your car's extended warranty. Since we have not gotten a response, we are giving you a final courtesy call before we close out your file. Press 2 to be removed and put on our do not.
We certainly apologize for that. Please keep going, Miss McKenzie.
Again, press 1 to speak with a warranty specialist.
844-989-1708. UST 239 RPG.
Miss McKenzie, are you there? Terry Ann? Okay, team, we apologize for that. I'm sure we'll get Terry Ann back, and she'll be able to finish those last 2.5 minutes. But one of the things that I think you did hear from Miss McKenzie, as a janitorial firm, not expecting the unexpected relevant to COVID, one of her challenges, as she indicated, was that fee increase off of the supplies. So as you can imagine, it's one thing not to be able to go to work and do the work that you do because of the stay-at-home order and others. And there's another thing, that at the end of the day, to be able to go to work, but now what was a part of your cost has now increased due to this COVID. So I want to thank Terry Ann for sharing that. And again, if we can get her back, I certainly will. But right now I want to pivot and go to Miss Alexander from Senatory. And Cynthia will share with you in 5 minutes or less some of the things that she's dealt with, faced, challenged, or opportunities over this COVID period. Cynthia, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Sandy, and good morning, all. And first of all, the name of my company is Senatary.
And it's actually the first three letters of my name and of my first name and last name. So I would like to tell you a little about my company and some of the things we've had to do. I am more of a service company, so fortunately I don't have to buy a whole lot of supplies. But we do all things notary. And one great thing that I had to happen for me was the state of Florida actually asked me to write a class for what's called RON, Remote Online Notary. When they first asked me, I said, no, I don't have time. And they asked me this in April. Well, the light came on, and I called them back and asked them, could I please have that back? I wrote the class, got it approved on March 12th. We got shut down on March 16th. And what RON is Remote Online Notary, which says that my company and anyone else that chooses to can notarize for anybody in the United States sitting at their desk. Matter of fact, yesterday I had the fortunate of being able to notarize for somebody selling their home. They're in Colombia. They're stuck because of COVID and can't get back. So that was awesome. And she was able to sell her home. Okay, another thing I would like to talk about would be right size. I heard Sandy earlier say downsize. Well, I had to right size my company. What I mean by right size, now my company, as far as the space, is half the size, and I pay half the price. I had a couple of reasons for doing that. One of them being that my business partner, she can't come to work anymore because of the underlying health issues. So now I'm saving half of that money, which I can put towards something else. Another thing I'd like to talk about is make sure that you got your business books and your accounting in order. Because even though I was a notary company and an insurance company, I was able to receive the grant, the PPP loan, and the lower interest SBA loan, which really makes a huge difference in my company because now I can market when I couldn't afford to market as I did before. I also took a step and I got a mailing permit from the post office, which means now I pay half the price to mail and market. Another thing I'd like to also bring up, all the DBEs, I have every one of them, and I got them through Broward County. But by me having that, Gallagher, one of the hugest companies in insurance, actually called me and made me their partner to work on Miami-Dade County School Board. Because of COVID, a lot of teachers are retiring. So now that notary thing is really coming in handy because now I can notarize remotely for all of those teachers that are going to retire, period. Another thing I would like to bring up is computers. I'm a former computer manager, but yesterday I had to turn my computer in, and it's to be fixed, so they're going to format the whole thing, so I'm going to lose everything on that computer. You always got to have a backup plan, so I do have a second computer. And another thing I'd like to bring up is actually the PPP. What I do to make sure that all my team has their masks with them at all times, I do lanyards, and I give away lanyards to every customer that comes in. Well, now I'm going to purchase lanyards with some marketing on it so that now I can market as well as give away those lanyards. So there's quite a few other things that I could go over, but I think that gives you the gist of it. And what I would like to say as a takeaway is for you all to contact all of your current, previous, and even future clients and let them know that you're still in business and you're still there to serve them. Thank you.
Cynthia, I want to thank you, and those are some very key points. And the idea that we all talk in my office about downsize, but as Cynthia said, right size versus downsize. And she also made a point that is so keen for all businesses. Even coming out of COVID, going into COVID, and we're in South Florida, so we also understand hurricanes, it's about your paperwork. You have to have your paperwork in order. That's key. Remember, we have a state bridge loan program. Anytime post a hurricane, there's a need or an emergency or a crisis, but you can't go after that bridge loan if you don't have your paperwork. So Cynthia, thank you for sharing that information. And again, that was extremely valuable. Right now, I want to move to Debbie Bailey, who's going to tell you about herself. And I'm going to ask her to also share with the group just how long she's been with our program and getting her certification. And I know she got some key points that she can certainly share in 5 minutes or less. Thank you, Debbie. Welcome.
Thank you, Sandy, and good morning, everyone. Well, my name is Debbie Bailey, and the name of my business is Lead Accounting Practice, but I'm also the co-owner of Atlantic Refinishing Crew with my husband. Now, the onset of COVID brought our both businesses, to what I call a screeching halt. There was no money coming in. I was stressed for a while, but I always remember the biographies that I read of successful people, of the obstacles that they face and how they get over, through, around, or under it. So I always had that in the back of my mind. But my obstacle mainly was like a personal level. COVID did something to my mind. I was inundated with thoughts. I was losing friends and family. My daughter was stressed by it, and my mind was crowded, so I couldn't find my way to think clearly. But lucky for me, I had two individuals that helped me through the crisis. One was an accountability partner, and with her, I stayed on track with things I have to do, from stuff that my next person, my best friend, told me to do. I refer to my best friend as my Dr. Phil. So she would remind me that only the fittest of the fittest will survive. She will tell me that I have it in me. I cannot fold, and the economic system is what it is. It's terrible, but I have to survive. So that was good advice, and I listened, to her. And I have never worked this hard in my business before. So I have a home office, and I work 50, 60 hours a week. I attended webinars. I assisted small businesses for free so that they could get their loans, and simply just refer to understanding your books, your financials, because that is critical. And I find myself just doing that with people. I volunteered at the Urban League, providing one-on-one consultation with small businesses, mainly in accounting and government contracting. Now, Sandy referred to you as asked me to mention how long I've started this. I just started talking with Sandy's office October of last year, and I have gotten valuable information. So during my COVID time, I started just looking over my stuff and re-evaluating my situation. Having accounting now, I do virtual accounting, and I made my plan straight. I also completed an entrepreneurship training at the Jim Moran Institute. And for my husband's business, he was in the marine industry, and we pivoted in construction. And this came about as, talking with Sandy's office 4 months prior to COVID. So during COVID, I studied diligently 3 things: the people, the process, and the program. For those of you who know Sandy, this is something that he really talks about a lot. So listening to Mr. McDonald, I just rely on his expertise, and this is what I did. I studied the people, so the people for me was Sandy McDonald. Mr. McDonald, I went to him. He was very open. I had over 7 conversations with him, one-on-one virtual conversations. I attended government contract meetings. I registered with Sam. Mike Bell is now my consultant. He's a procurement specialist. All of this is for free. And I also received over 30 bids as of July, bid invitations, right? And now I'm working the process. I'm working the program. But luckily for me, I just got a contract 2 weeks ago with Dade School District. And our certifications, we have 7 certifications, 4 of which we got during COVID. And for me, that translates to opportunities, and more opportunities. So I have these invitations to bid. Yesterday, I went on one, and just a few people showed up for the bid. So I'm saying my competition is not that a lot. And today, I have 2 that I'm going to 2 walkthroughs. So the opportunities are coming in, and I think I'm really positioned to greatness. I also was awarded in my accounting to be the accounting coach for the Urban League. So all these things that are coming out we have to understand our financials. I didn't check my time. Anyway, so I'll be finishing in a minute, Sandy. So I am a coach at the Urban League,
We're right at you.
teaching small businesses how to understand the financials. And lastly, the best thing that came out of it is my business. Both businesses are in the best position ever. They're positioned good. So I will leave this tip with you to say, think outside of the box. Also, if the government is buying what you're selling, seek the government contracts. There are many opportunities, but you got to work hard. And do not lose sight of your dream. But also remember, the fittest of the fittest will survive, so you'll be one of the fit. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey.
Back to you, Sandy.
Yes, thank you. No, and that was valuable information, especially the part about, I'll paraphrase, the stick-to-itiveness. The idea that if you're already in this and you can survive and you can uncloud your mind, as she mentioned in the beginning, you want to dig deep and make it happen. You want to be realistic. You want to check your numbers, but if you're in this fight to win it, then we recommend that you stay in this fight. So we're going to back up and go back to Miss McKenzie. She was able to rejoin us and ask Miss McKenzie to finish her 2 minutes of specifically some opportunities or the challenges. She gave us some challenges. So let's see exactly where she is now and how she's dealing with those. So Miss McKenzie, thanks for rejoining us. Please get started.
Yes, thank you. We spoke about the challenges, and I have left to encourage others. I don't know about everybody in what field that you're in. I can only speak of my field. As far as other small janitorial firms, now is the time to partner with larger firms or other small firms in opposed to quitting. I would suggest partnering with other firms. They might have something you can learn from. You might could learn from each other. Or you could just work with each other in an effort not to close your doors. For example, a lot of people are now requesting electrostatic disinfecting, and you might have a company that has the machines and you don't, but you have the bodies and can provide the service in the capacity of a sub. I would encourage other people in my field, other smaller companies in my field, to reach out to other small firms or bigger firms and see where and how you might be able to team up with each other. That's it. Stay encouraged. Don't give up during these times. Focus more on how you can learn from what you're facing and partnering.
Thank you, Ms. McKenzie, and that's certainly something that I think we all needed to hear. It is about the focus. And when the opportunity presents itself, it's certainly about the partnering, but it's also understanding as a business your asset, your value. What do you bring to the table? How can you align what you bring to the table with what others also have to offer? And because of that, you could then also sustain, maintain, and survive through this COVID. So thank you again, Ms. McKenzie. Now I would like to go to Dr. Arthur and allow her to share with us the uniqueness of their company, what they do, but more importantly, how they're navigating this COVID scenario. Dr. Arthur, thank you. Welcome. Please get started.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Arthur. I am an internist, that's internal medicine, and an addictionologist. I provide substance abuse treatment to clients, and we provide drug testing services. One of the challenges that we had was having patients to come in the office. We did not want to expose patients to the virus, and we didn't want to be exposed. So we had to invest in new equipment, webcam, and software so that we can provide telehealth. And as many of you probably know, when you go to your doctors now, a lot of the doctor's visits are via telehealth, or what we call telemedicine. So we had to keep up with the technology in order to provide services to our patients. A lot of people, they would say to me, well, you're in the healthcare business and people will always need healthcare. But what we found is that when people lose their jobs, they lose their health insurance. And a lot of people are making, unfortunately, choices of whether to go to the doctor or whether to pay for rent or pay for food. So we had to make sure that we encourage our patients to keep up with their health care and be aware of some of the benefits that their health insurance they're now offering patients due to what's going on with COVID-19. Nevertheless, we did need funding because of this, and I did apply for the PPP loan. And one of the things that I want to encourage is that you always want to be document ready. And what I mean by that is you always want to have all of your information ready so that you can apply for loans and grants. My story was that I initially applied with my bank, and I was denied. But then I listened to a webinar with Broward County, and I learned about an organization called the NDC. And what I did was I got their information, and I sent an email to someone from Mr. Adekoyoe, I think is his name, from NDC. I told him that I was interested in the PPP loan, and within 15 to 30 minutes, he emailed me back and told me to fill out the application. I made sure that the application was filled out within an hour that he sent me the link, and he processed the application, and within 4 days, I received my funding. But that was because all of my documents were in place on my computer, and I was ready to provide information that was needed. Another thing that I would strongly recommend is always subscribe to all of your small business associations. You definitely want to keep up, if you're in Broward County, with the Broward County Office of Economic and Small Business Development, the SBA. I'm in Hollywood. Hollywood has a small business development office, if you will. So whatever city you're in, find out who has programs for small businesses. Make sure that you subscribe to their newsletters. Make sure that you listen to their webinars, because that's how I found out about the NDC, which allowed me to obtain my PPP loan. And the third thing that I want to mention is that always give feedback to the organizations that were helpful to you or that were not helpful to you. I called my bank and told them I bank with you, but you weren't helpful to me, and as a result, they're now in contact with me, letting me know that they are willing to now help. On the other hand, I contacted the NDC, who did provide me with the PPP loan, thanked them for their services, and as a result, I'm receiving further information, other programs that they had that I was not aware of. So when you give feedback to the organizations that are helpful to you, they in turn can receive more funding, and then they in turn can help you. So in conclusion, my three things that I would stress is to always be document ready, subscribe to your local small business associations, and always give feedback to the organizations and let them know what they're doing.
And Dr. Arthur, I want to thank you for those comments, and they're so timely, relevant to where we are now and where we're going. We don't know when there's another crisis. And even as an office, the county recognizes we can't do it all, so we did bring in other partners. We brought in NDC and Osarimi Adekoye. The gentleman has been extremely helpful to many of our businesses. As you all know, when the federal government started the PPP and the EIDL under the SBA, for the PPP, you had to go to your banks. And the reality is we recognized in the first rounds that the banks really didn't meet the needs of all the smallest of small businesses, nor did they do the direct outreach. But we all understood that it was really about the smaller banks, the credit unions, and the CDFIs, Community Development Financial Institutions. NDC is one of those CDFIs. And he did come on to a workshop with us, along with another one of our small banks. And again, we're just so proud and excited about how many of our businesses, some of our medium-sized businesses, who didn't get the assistance they needed from the larger banks, were able to get the assistance from Capital Bank, from Legacy Bank, from our CDFI partner NDC, and some of the others. So again, those were good lessons, and I do appreciate Dr. Arthur mentioning, again, document ready. Folks, you have to be, as a business, document ready. So thank you again. With that, I want to transition over to my friend Carl Norris, and ask Carl to share a little bit about himself and his challenges, opportunities, or struggles going through COVID. Carl, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald, and thank you for arranging this so that we can all share and become a little bit more, hopefully, successful. Dual Arc is a risk management company. We're entrepreneurs. We look at opportunities, and we try to meet a need. We originally started this to help folks in healthcare by designing a master record so that it could be shared because it wasn't available. Interestingly enough, though, there's lots of challenges there, so we defaulted back to what we have experience in, which is cybersecurity. We've been able to help the county by securing first responders at the endpoint, and it's been really successful. One thing I can say is that everyone that we've worked with at the county has been extraordinarily professional and capable. With COVID-19, one of the things that we ran into is that we don't, and we're not able to put our hands on things as much as we used to. Even using remote technology, we still have to look at people and find out what's really going on because they don't always want to share what's happening inside of cybersecurity because there's a lot there. And it's one of those subject matters that folks don't really like to talk about when it's not good. So, the teams that we worked with inside of Broward were extraordinary, capable and competent, and it really allowed us to complete a very complex project in a way that I think we met or exceeded expectations. One of the challenges with that is that we had very few face-to-face meetings, but it was a very large project, and that is typical of what we're running into now because with everyone working remotely, they don't come into the office anymore. So you still have to secure the connectivity, which means that you have to not only deal with the computers at work, but you've got to deal with people's computers at home, which kind of opens up a back door to hackers to get in to the business. How do you secure that and how do you monitor it? That's what we fundamentally have been doing, and it's been working pretty well. So, working from home for us is not unusual. We've always done that. Understanding how to work with other people remotely, we're pretty good at that. So with everything that's happening at COVID-19, we've been able to be very empathetic with other people. One of the things that we do, just to make it simple for us, is that we plan our days pretty tight. So we get up, we go to work, we get dressed. We actually set up kitchen timers so that the timer is ticking in front of us so we don't get lost and go down rabbit trails chasing after technology that isn't applicable to the subject that we're dealing with right then and there. And then we keep really good logs, and we keep people accountable for what they do. And that seems to help keep things on track and complete things on time by using a lot of different tools, accounting, project management, CRM products, and then integrating them all together. We're able to keep up with things with very few people, but maximum amount of work in minimum amount of time. So along the way, we were contacted by the VA to help with COVID because we're known for our database expertise. They wanted to do track and trace on COVID-19 testing. So they asked us to start distributing COVID-19 test kits, which we are doing. And we've done some pretty large ones. But the key is that after they get the test, the very next question they have is, what do we do with this information and how often do we test? So we now have started working with rapid COVID-19 tests. It gives results in 15 minutes that can tell you if you have COVID or not, or if you have antibodies that would keep you from getting the bug again in the next 90 days, I guess they say. And then we actually track and trace that. So on your phones, you guys all have the ability to track and trace COVID-19. And a lot of people don't know that. So we're in the process of writing some articles to push that out now so that folks keep up with it, because this isn't really going to go away, and we really need to know how to deal with it to slow it down. So what we're trying to do is to provide opportunities to reduce the risk. Again, getting back to the risk management solutions. So that's how we're doing it today, and it continues to change and evolve, and we simply address the needs of the folks that ask us questions as we go along. We're technologists, but we're also people. So that's pretty much what we do.
Thank you, Carl, and excited about the fact that you're able to not only be a part of it on the front line, but you're one of those businesses who are able to expand what you do normally. As you said, it's not new for those in technology to be working from home, but the idea to be able to be directly involved on the testing side, and then more importantly for your background, to be able to expand that in terms of the data side so that we can do the tracing is extremely important. And again, we're just thankful that one of our businesses has a chance to participate in that manner in this COVID scenario. And your last statement is also true. This isn't going anywhere, unfortunately, no time soon. So we all need to understand the opportunities as well as how to deal with those scenarios as businesses and also, as Carl said, as humans, as people. So thanks again, Carl. Next, we're going to ask one of our long-running businesses to share. Ann's Janitorial can come to us and share her thoughts about COVID, her operation existing, and any challenges as well as the opportunities. So, Ann, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Good morning, Mr. McDonald and the entire staff and all the listeners. My name is Norma Ann Kendall with Ann's Janitorial Services. I've been with Broward County Small Business Development since 2004. I would like to say to them all, thank you. You're the ones that helped to rock the cradle of this company and for it to be where it is today. Ann's Janitorial Services is a woman-owned company. It was started by me, by my middle name, Ann. We are working with Broward County. We have subcontracts with the county, as well as we have some contracts. So far, when COVID-19 hit, we were prepared because we were subcontractors over at the Broward County Library, a place where disinfectant was one of the most important things that had to be done in that facility because of its clientele. So I had to buy PPEs, I had to buy masks, had to always have a whole set of gloves and disinfectant. But the difference between that time and when the COVID hit, I did not have machines to do sanitizing. So when the COVID hit, I had to go into getting sanitizing machines and even getting some stronger products. So what I did, the motto in my company is, if you can think it, you can write it. If you can write it, you can do it. So I went to my company's motto, and I said, no, I have to think. Disinfectant. Okay, now I have to write it. I need something to go with that disinfectant to make time less for my employees. So I went to one of my vendors here, and he had a sanitizing machine, and he sold it to me for $300. I bought that machine, and then I decided, no, I got to go and get it done. We started with a $300 machine. I introduced it to my clients. I told them all the new products and what I had. They all, without even going into details, they all jumped on it. I presented it to them. Today, that $300 machine brought us where we could have bought cash, 2 machines for $1,789 each cash with our own credit card. Not only that, it brought us also clientele. It also brought us more employees. Now in New York, I had to hire more employees than I had when I first started. My encouragement to each business owner today is, if you can think it, you can write it. If you can write it, you can do it. There's 3 mottos I have in my company. Good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good becomes your better and your better becomes your best. Every opportunity you get in this janitorial or whatever company you have, always look to do the good, better, and the best of it. And in doing that, you will be successful. When times like this come, you will be prepared. You will be ready. I never went for a PPE loan because I did not need it. I wanted those who needed to get the opportunity to have it. So again, I want to say thanks to Broward County the commissioners, the small business department, all those lovely, hardworking people. Thank you for this opportunity of rocking my company, teaching me and helping me to be where I am today. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Norma Ann, and we really appreciate that information. And I'm going to make sure staff takes your quotes with your permission. We'll certainly give you credit and put those quotes and models up. That does make sense. If you can think it, you can write it. And if you can write it, you can do it. And certainly the good, the better, and the best. And within that, it all makes sense. And again, thanks for that motivation and that encouragement. And we still continue to wish you and all of our speakers today the best. A little housekeeping. We want to remind our listeners that we are going to be entertaining questions and answers when we get to the end. So please use the chat column or the Q&A column at the bottom so that you can send us questions. We also know that we're doing this through the Vimeo system, so it's similar to our commission meetings and folks can send in questions. We also know that I have one of my staff here, Miss Bell, and she's also streaming live on Facebook, so we'll see some questions there. But we want the questions because in the end, I also want to make sure, as we said in the beginning, the speakers are doing a very good job of keeping it 5 minutes or less. Some of them are sharing information with you that I'm sure you can probably use. I'm definitely going to make sure on our website today, all of their contact information is there so you can reach out to them. But we certainly will be entertaining questions as we conclude the presentations later in this program. Next, we're going to transition over to VPR Construction, and we're going to hear from Tricia. And on the brick and mortar side, the construction side, we're going to let her share with us how her and her team is handling COVID. Tricia, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Sandy. Good morning, and good morning, everyone. My name is Tricia Ramstowak, and I'm the president of VPR Construction Corporation. VPR Construction Corp currently holds a roofing and general construction license, and we're certified as a WMBE, a DBE, and Broward County SBE and CBE. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the challenges that we faced would be the top two, I would say, would be dealing with the uncertainty, obviously. And this is the first time we were dealing with something like this. And when I first joined Broward County SBA, one of the things that was said to me was I needed a business plan in order for me to successfully carry out my business, and I needed to have a business plan. And I knew with dealing with an uncertainty, I had to create a plan of action. And I did so by doing my research on the CDC guidelines for safety and precautions. And I had to think critically and creatively on how I can continue my business operations during a pandemic. Another one of the challenges that I was facing was the subcontractors that we've had established working relationships with were declining to bid on the projects that we were sending to them simply because it was the COVID-19. So now, within a short period of time with getting the bids and responding to them, we've now had to go off of our pre-qualified vendors list and reaching out to other subs and building new relationships with them. And God's willing, we were able to build new relationships with reliable and professional subcontractors. So that took a little bit of legwork as well. By facing those two challenges and also resolving them, we were able to be awarded 3 contracts within Broward County, one of which we've already completed and 2 are still in progress. As a small business owner, I would share my success tip of creating a plan of action. Doing your research and thinking critically and creatively helps you out so much. It gives you something to revert back to. You can add and take away from it. Because as Mr. Carl said, this is something that's, it's not going away for now. And also to never count yourself out. There's a lot of negative that we can think about and we can focus on, but thinking about the positive and working smart. And I would say that concludes my segment. Thank you, Sandy.
Tricia, thank you, and thanks for those comments. And certainly the idea that we all need to recognize, and especially those of you who are in business, those of you thinking about getting in business, those of you who got in business, do you have that plan? Are you doing your research? Are you taking advantage of what the opportunities as they present themselves? So those are good tips and good information. And again, the last thing that she did mention, never count yourself out. Never count yourself out. And as a business, as an entrepreneur, I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir or speaking to the choir. All of you certainly know that because, again, it took a lot for you to commit to get started. So you're certainly not the type of individual who would just simply count yourself out. So thanks again, Tricia. Our next speaker, and again, similar to Tricia, similar to Ms. DeLark, similar to Norma Ann, Terry Ann McKenzie, Cynthia with Senatori, and I apologize, Cynthia, I definitely knew that name. Again, we will have information on our website on how you can contact and get in contact with these people. And many of them have things to offer beyond today's tips and suggestions. Many of them may even have services that you can take advantage of. Our next speaker is one of those who, by design, she motivates, she's encouraging, and she also helps businesses to put themselves in a position to be seen by others as well as her own business. So we're going to hear from Tamika, and she's going to come to us from TB Media Group, and she's going to share information with you that I know will be valuable based on how she's navigating COVID and things that she's looking at, post-COVID. Good morning, Tamika. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Sandy, and thank you so much for having me here and inviting me to be a part of this. I'm really excited about the Well, my name is Tamika Bickham. I am the founder and chief storyteller of TB Media Group. We are a storytelling and content marketing agency, content creation agency. What does that mean? Well, storytelling is really the theme of today. We focus on really helping our clients hone in on their story, their authentic story, their message, and refining that narrative and creating the content that helps support that message and connect with their audience in the most authentic way. That really falls into two buckets. Video storytelling, which is really my background. I am a former local TV news journalist, so we really create a lot of video content, as well as what I'd like to call digital storytelling, and that's your copywriting, your web content, your blog, and your social media content. So looking at COVID-19, I'm a service-based business, and a lot of my clients are service-based that we work with and we serve. So we didn't have the high overhead costs that, some storefronts or other businesses have because we're an entirely remote team. For me personally, I never saw the need to work in an office and take on those costs, and I also like having the opportunity to work with talent and clients anywhere in the U.S. And be able to work from home. So from that perspective, I didn't have a lot of high overhead costs, but I did have clients. Obviously, we're all looking at this uncertainty and saying, hey, what's going to happen next? And really trying to pull back on budgets. So I did have a client that went out of business from literally the one day to the next. And I had some other clients who just wanted to put pauses on projects that were in the works and also maybe cut budgets back a little bit. So from that perspective, I had to really look at my team. We had to cut back on hours and just see where we could save costs. And unfortunately, that did mean a reduction in hours for a lot of my team who were servicing those clients who either pulled back on their budget or went out of business. So looking at 2020, I did have a pretty robust marketing plan. And my plan was actually all along to launch a video podcast. And my goal was to do this before May. And there's some costs associated with that. So when March hit, I was like, am I going to continue with this plan of launching a video podcast, which is called Lift You Up, Inspiring Health Stories, which are really targeting my two core values, which are health and happiness, and telling stories of other entrepreneurs in the South Florida community who are helping other people live healthier and happier lives. Well, I said, hey, this is very valid right now. We all need to be healthier. We want to find that happiness even in the midst of all of what's going on. But did I want to spend the cost that it was going to take and the time it was going to take during COVID-19? I decided to stay the course because when I looked at what was going on and how much people are home and how we saw our clients' social media numbers going up. People are home and consuming content, and they want to connect virtually, and that's really all that we have. So I launched the podcast, and, why did that work? It was a way for me to market myself. So my tip there would be showing, not telling. If you can show people what you do instead of tell them, they will want to hire you. So I was showcasing myself as talent and as a storyteller. And then I was also using this as a business development tool. So since I'm inviting people to come on my show, I was actually getting in front of people who I wouldn't have otherwise. So these are either potential clients or people who could introduce me to potential clients. And then this has just also increased brand awareness. So what did I see as a result of this? Greater online connection, more networking, and signing up more clients. That didn't happen for some time. Anything takes time to grow, but I've actually started growing my business over the last 2 months, whereas a lot of projects were put on pause. So my closing tips would really be just to don't run away from marketing. If you have to pull back on budget, see where you can at least allow for some marketing, even if you're taking on the bulk of doing that yourself. Because right now people are online, they want to connect online, and if you're showing up, they want to consume that content. So share your story, share the story of your stakeholders, because that's how you build a connection. We all know people buy people. They don't buy businesses, they buy people. So if you can connect authentically, that would be my recommendation. And just keep talking to your audience. Show up consistently and understand that it takes a little bit of time. So that would be my tips. Yep.
Request all the employees T-shirt size. Send it out on chat now. Please send me the T-shirt size.
Thank you, Tamika.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We appreciate that.
Call and get there today.
Miss McKenzie, we can hear you. So Tamika, thank you again, and don't run away from marketing. Don't run away from telling your story. And people do buy people. They buy relationships. And another thing that Tamika said, if you can show it far more than you tell it, that then begins to capture that audience. So that's good information. And again, from Tamika to many of our speakers today, we will certainly make sure you have access to their information and contact information if you would like to reach out to them. Next, I would like to go to H84 Exports and speak with Ms. Rivera and have her to share with us about their company and exactly what's going on relevant to COVID. I met her and her husband at a couple of our workshops and series activities, and again, we're going to let her just tell you about their energy, but more importantly, how they came through, or how they're coming through, or how they're addressing COVID. Good morning, Ms. Rivera, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and thank you again for this opportunity to tell our story and hopefully encourage others. My name is Jeanette Rivera, and I'm with H84, and we get builders what they want, where they want it. And pre-COVID, we were focused mainly on hospitality industry and clients who were building overseas. And as everybody knows, hospitality has been at a standstill and really suffering. So we had to really come to the drawing board and say, okay, what are we going to do? So during COVID, we've actually gotten creative and switched gears to focus on local markets and local customer base. And during this entire process, we had to really take a look at our business and say, okay, what are we doing? Where are we going? And my success tip I'm going to give a little earlier. In the process of getting ready, I would say be attuned with your business and the industry you serve. So in the run-up to COVID really hitting us hard, we started to trim the fat and brace ourselves for what we were perceiving would soon hit us. And we were able to do this because we were listening to our clients and we were watching basically not only the news, but we were in communications with our clients. And our clients were in some of the hot zones. And all of a sudden, we started to see a slowdown in their orders, or the smoke signals were there. And because we were attuned with our industry that we were serving in our business, we were able to, before really taking that full-on hit when they shut everything down back in March, we actually started to trim the fat in the business. We started to look at the business with a critical eye and say, what are we doing? What are we going to do? Where do we need to trim so we can survive the basic operations so the business can be viable, in a few months? What do we need to do? So we really, I really stress that. Be attuned to your business, to your clients, and to your industry. Because that way you can really watch the trends and see what's happening so you can adapt accordingly. And for some that already didn't get that sign, now you kind of know you're watching the environment. So how did we overcome? I want to say we are still overcoming, but one of the top things and speakers previously said is we made sure that our paperwork and accounting items were in order so that we could apply for available resources. We made sure we had all the filings, the taxes, anything and everything that really made the business operations in terms of the paperwork and filings. We made sure everything was, all the T's were crossed and all the I's were dotted. So we could really go after some of these resources. That also, because our paperwork and our things were in line, we were actually able to open up some doors for opportunities through the certification that we have through Broward County. An opportunity presented to us, and we were able to provide our, supplies for the construction center project through Balfour Beatty and Matthew Southwest. So that really, kind of like resolved us, like, okay, our traditional market isn't really working right now, but hey, we got this opportunity presenting itself, but we wouldn't have been ready for that opportunity if we hadn't taken the time beforehand and made the investment in getting our bookkeeping right, getting our accounting, making sure our tax filings are filed, making sure we have the right, IRS structure, everything that works for our business, so that we could have those opportunities. Then we took a moment again. During this process, you need to really center yourself, and you need to really look at, the business and yourself as a whole. As entrepreneurs, it can be a lot. As small business owners, it's us a lot of times, and it can get overwhelming. So we took a deep breath, and then we went back to the drawing board to chart a new path for the company. And what I want to stress here is creativity. We got real creative as to where we were now going to service. What offering could we do? What could we offer in terms of products and services? Because clearly hospitality is not there for us. Doesn't mean it won't be there, because it will come back. Exports is not there for us, so that was a big component of our business. But what can we do in the meantime? So what we did is we switched our focus. We started to sell online. We started to reach out using the certification that we have through the county, through the school board, Broward and Dade, and started pursuing other clients. And we also started selling through different apps, Nextdoor app, OfferUp, things to keep the money flowing, the revenue going, while we set up everything else, because contracts sometimes take a moment, take some time, but at least we're in the running. We also got creative with our resources. We couldn't really afford, since we trimmed the fat, there's a lot of things we couldn't afford, but doesn't mean there are not resources out there. We went to, this office right here helped us out. Florida Women's Business Center, the Urban League of Broward County, the SBDC of FAU, they have a lot of programs. And if you have questions, need help, we went to them about marketing for our website. We had them look at our capability statement again, because we're like, all right, now we really got to focus on this. What do I need to do to get ready for the opportunity and that they see me? And then also, we just also want to, we now go after, in terms of the contract, we bid it for local government through GovQuo and BidSync, and we still go after it, and we keep bidding. You're not going to win the first time, but you have to keep trying. You have to find the customer now in a different, way, or touch base with them. So in our case, we call their customers that have hotels, and we just call them just to say, how are you doing? Is there anything that you need? Oh, sorry. So I just want to, encourage everyone, get creative, and just push forward.
And thank you. And some of those immediate takeaways, certainly as you indicated, was be in tune to your business, your client, your industry, and creativity. It's definitely demonstrated how you went beyond and how you began to pivot your business, and how, more importantly, you recognize, though hospitality was not happening now, it will come back. Exporting is not happening now, it will come back. But this was an immediate opportunity to pivot and take a look at some of the other county contracts, opportunities, as well as to utilize the certification that you had. So thanks again for sharing with us. Next, we're going to go to Ms. Wedderburn, the President, CEO of Champion Controls, and we're going to let her share with us her story relevant to COVID and her navigation. Chantel, thank you for joining us, and good morning.
Thank you, Sandy. Good morning to you also. And thanks to all our other colleagues, my other colleagues on this webinar. They've been great, excellent presentations and great advice. Just to introduce ourselves, Champion Controls, we're a leading manufacturer of industrial control systems. Our customers are in the municipal and heavy movable structure industries. So basically, we supply our engineered controls and instrumentation to owners of water, wastewater treatment plants, and movable bridges, drawbridges, lift bridges, and other industrial applications from Florida all the way up the East Coast and across to Louisiana. We do have contracts with Broward County as well. Well, our firm was confronted with many challenges by this coronavirus pandemic, as was everybody else's firms here. But our greatest challenge, we think, was the uncertainty. There was so much uncertainty for future income, meeting our debt obligations, maintaining our staff, protecting the staff. We have a staff of 40, and keeping the continuity of our company, which has been in business for 17 years. So we started out by being honest. The first thing was to be honest with our employees. We let them know we have a lot of strategies for all sorts of situations, like hurricanes, fires, etc. But what we're going through right now is such an unprecedented circumstance, such uncharted territory, that we did not have a contingency plan for this. But we let them know that our focus was zero layoffs, not cutting any hours, and not cutting any salaries, as we have heard happen with a lot of other businesses. So once we communicated this focus, that our focus was to protect them, employees first, then we proceeded to engage our staff to help protect the business, which is their livelihood, our livelihood. So we challenged each employee to come up with a cost-saving measure that could save costs in either their department or just the company-wide as a whole. So they came up with all sorts of different suggestions in cutting, shop supplies, reusing, conserving, sharing, office supplies, printing less, curtailing orders, utilities. We would put the AC temperature up on our thermostat a bit, turn off unnecessary lights, all sorts of things. They seem like small efforts, but they did add up to, much needed savings. The unfortunate thing is, and, as Sandy, you said, everything is not rosy. We don't all have the rosy ending. We do have a high overhead. I mean, we've got a huge factory and office space. We're committed to 30,000 square feet of space in 3 different locations. So we can't reduce that cost. So no matter what we do, all these little cost savings are going to help. Even if people are working from home, we still have to pay the rent. So we basically did just that. We sent a lot of our workers home to telecommute just to protect the manufacturing staff, because there was no way our manufacturing staff could go home, could work from home. So in order to protect them, which protecting the employees, again, was number one, we brought in sanitizing supplies, gloves, masks, face shields, etc. And then we sent as many admin and engineers home just to reduce the number of people in the building. When we did have a scare, one of our employees was caught on a website with a COVID-positive individual. We stopped everything, tested everybody in the company. We brought in a company to test every employee, just to give them the reassurance, even though they didn't have the direct contact. But we just wanted to give them the reassurance that, we were there for them, and we wanted to make sure everyone was safe. So that was very important. I think the last thing in terms of long-term business continuity, what we do is we bid. All of our sales are through bids. And normally we bid just at the capacity of what we are able to produce. We don't want to overextend ourselves. But now it's very difficult to forecast. Jobs are being delayed, slowed down, shut down, etc. So now we've determined that we need to bid 30% above capacity. And that, we're hoping, gives us that margin of error so that we come close to normal operations. So in closing, I want to agree with everyone else who's mentioned taking advantage of all the government opportunities, the PPP, disaster loans, the FFCRA payments, payroll tax deferrals, that's on treasury.gov, and just take advantage of all of that. And look for new opportunities. Our plexiglass supplier, turns out he's really busy because now he's manufacturing desk shields, supermarket shields, etc. So good luck to everyone, and thank you for the time. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you, Chantel, for those comments, and certainly understanding how you took a different bid strategy to do the markup of 30% to grow that capacity, because we are in those uncertain times, and you actually started your presentation off with uncertainty. And one of the things that we do know as businesses for ourselves and our employees, which have been key coming through COVID, you also mentioned being honest of exactly where you are and what you're facing, and finding ways, if possible, to even get your staff involved. So again, thank you for those comments. Our last speaker today, and again, we want you guys, if you had questions, to certainly chime those questions in. I have Tamika here with me. She'll be able to put some of those questions forward. And for my speakers, some of the questions might not be to me. They might be directly to you. So I want my speakers to stay on, and we'll certainly address you. But for my next speaker, I would like our friend and local entrepreneur, as many of you are, Mr. Miguel Pilgrim, to come and share his story, and also certainly to specifically let us know how his business, which was directly impacted and is still directly impacted, how he's able to navigate and manage his multiple operations. Miguel, good morning, sir, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Sandy. I do appreciate the time, and definitely put me on this list of these esteemed colleagues. Quick, fast, in a hurry. Pilgrim Group is a real estate investment company. We have commercial, residential, a restaurant brand, and an entertainment brand. Quick for the real estate, we kind of started downsizing our residential because many of the tenants can't pay. So we've kind of given that over to a management company, and we've done some owner financing so we can download those properties, because we ourselves had to downsize also, our maintenance staff and things of that nature. So we really couldn't just operate and manage those properties like we used to. That was something different, but it actually gives us more time and less involvement in the property, because we're more like the bank now versus operating it and being the bank. So that's how we affected the real estate side. And we have properties downtown. One of them includes our restaurant brand, New York Southern Wings, and our entertainment brand, NYSW Jazz Lounge. Obviously, live music here everywhere has been affected, stopped to a halt. And with those, the artists, the stagehand, fortunate, NYSW Jazz Lounge is a restaurant. And I kept it that way rather than licensing as a bar only. The bar is closed. The stage is closed. However, we started with the grab-and-go menu in the middle of COVID, and it was doing very, very well. We're happy to see that people in Broward really love Chef Corey's menu. No live performances, so we definitely were able to get some of the PPP loan. And let me thank the county. You guys really gave me a lot of insight on how that went, and we definitely got financing for our PP, so we were able to carry our staff a little bit longer, but eventually we did have to lay off the 23 individuals. So it's not all a great story, but in order to keep the brand open, I pivoted from live music into a one-on-one show that I had online, live via Facebook, which the cost wasn't too bad. I brought in a production crew, and we kind of gave the fans, the followers of NYSW Jazz Lounge, one-on-one interviews with some of their favorite artists. So we did that for about 6 weeks. It was phenomenal. We're thinking about relaunching that again September. And we're slowly trying to operate as a restaurant on Fridays and Saturdays. No live music as of yet. We're thinking about doing that in September. So as it stands, it's about reinvention. It's about being CDC compliant. As you know, the city of Fort Lauderdale County have a task force out here. And if you're not complying with CDC regulations, they will fine you, close you down, and you're talking about $15,000, which I don't think any entrepreneur or any business owner wants to go through all that. And I'm on the task force, so it'd be kind of weird for me to do that. But in doing that, I think when you have multiple brands, the challenge is how can you manage and operate through challenges. We all were pretty in a bad funk, but I was in China when the SARS virus came back in 2003, and I was had a little bit of experience on how that should go and how that should operate. So immediately we went to reinvention according to the standards that you have set in front of you. So with the grab-and-go menu, the Friday, Saturday dining experience, and the Soul Food Sundays, I think NYSW, the brand, can continue to survive, not thrive, but survive. In the real estate, because we pivoted from being the operator as well as the bank, we went directly to the bank. So it's all about reinvention and having those books. I did learn that lesson. One of our other colleagues mentioned having the books available, your I's dotted, your T's crossed, and I definitely learned a lesson in that respect. So moving forward, it's about the ability to learn from every challenge that you face. And that's how we are, Sandy. So we're doing okay. We're not thriving, but we're making it through.
Well, Miguel, thank you. And you said some key points towards the end there throughout your presentation. You're not thriving, but you are making it through. And that was the whole ideal about today, making sure that our listening audience understood that many of our businesses are making it through. Many of our businesses, as you heard Miguel and others, are pivoting. Many of the businesses are deciding that there's ways to expand what they would normally do and to do that differently, do some things completely different, and as you heard from some of the speakers, also identify better opportunities than previous. So again, Miguel, I want to thank you. So we're going to now begin with Tamika. She's forwarding me some of the questions that we've heard from you over the last hour. So I'm going to get to some of the questions. And again, for the 12 presenters, many of these questions, which is a great thing, are being asked of you, not of me. So I get to repeat them out loud to you, and then you are allowed to certainly respond to our speakers today. So Cynthia, if you're still on, a question came from Facebook. Ask Cynthia if she can share a picture of the lanyard, or if she can email or let them know how that design is. So Cynthia, they heard that point about you now moving into the lanyards. So we had Ms. Sheba Lee asking if you could share information. Cynthia, what would you like for me to share with her regarding your lanyards?
Basically, I'm just ordering a standard lanyard so that people can actually have their mask attached to it. But I'm also ordering lanyards with my marketing on it. I don't create lanyards. This way, when you give them away to the people, they're marketing for you, and when they need your service, they can come back to you.
Gotcha. So for the person asking that question, she's for the most part going through the different warehouses, getting lanyards, and then she's able to brand or market those lanyards with her information, and she's recommending that you do the same. Another question, and this one is to our office: how is OESBD providing small businesses fair opportunities in obtaining government contracts? And we're proud to say that we're doing it now, even with COVID, the same way that we've done it to date. This is one of the things that we don't have to change. What we did do as an office is we've increased the volume of communication. I know outreach would say, Sandy, we already do a lot. That's where we started doing more. One of the speakers, I think it was Ms. Bailey, mentioned one of the things that we speak often about. You want government contracting opportunities, specifically with Broward. You want to understand our program. You want to understand our process. And you want to make sure you can familiarize yourself with the people. Through those 3 Ps, that's how the county is assuring that my office makes sure that contracts that are still rolling out are giving opportunities for small businesses to participate. You heard a couple of the presenters today speak about their contractual opportunities ongoing, some which increased, some through a pivot. You are heard that they've even now working with the group outside of hospitality, but they're working in a group who's currently with the convention center expansion. As a business, if you want to know about government contractings with us, first and foremost, we hope that you are registered and you're receiving our newsletter every Wednesday night. That's where you get tips about bids before the bids come on BidSync. That's where you learn more about the program, the process, and the people. These virtual meetings, these meet and greets that we host, the idea that you can get information. As an example, surtax. We're still, as a county and with 31 cities, working with projects to improve infrastructure and to address transportation operation and services throughout Broward County. $150 million was just recently approved by the commission. Cities are now sending in those projects. We are reviewing those projects for goals, but you as a small business could have learned and still can learn more about those projects before they ever hit the street as a bid from the county or the cities. So the opportunity to learn more and to know more is there. We hope you are truly engaged, and we get it. Even during COVID, you're extremely busy. So that's why we send this Wednesday's newsletter. That's why we tell folks, thank you for joining us today. We know businesses are still too busy to join us for every single workshop. So we want you to read the newsletter, know about the upcoming workshops, pick the ones that work for you, but certainly challenge us and engage our process if you want to know more about government contracts. Again, our county's website, broward.org/econdev, that's short for economic development. broward.org/econdev is where you can go to our website. You can get everything relevant to COVID, any financial resources that the county's aware of throughout the state, throughout the federal government, throughout local municipalities, including the county. This is where you can get information on all the future workshops. This is where you can also go into that website and subscribe to receive that Wednesday newsletter. So again, broward.org/econdev. Let me see if I got another question here. We will also put, again, because someone wants Carl's full name and his company's name, we will go back and mention, we will put all of the speakers and their contact information up on the website, on my county website. We'll make sure you have all the contact information along with the individuals' names and the company's names. Ms. Bell, any other questions that we have? So I have one from Facebook for Champion Control. The question is, what company did you conduct your COVID testing? Were you satisfied with the process, the results, and the turnaround? Chantel?
I'm here, Sandy. Thank you. Well, unfortunately, it was a friend who was a doctor who was able to get testing. So it wasn't a well-known company, although they are out there. We have received emails, so I cannot recommend that person to you at this time. I'm sorry.
No. But thank you for that information, because that's also not only an honest answer, it's one for us to recognize this is where also, whether it's business supplies, as you heard earlier, when it came to the static machinery, whether it's expanding your opportunities, someone does something that you don't do, or whether it even the COVID testing. Always remember, and I think Tamika spoke to this also, it's about relationships. People do business with people. And in this regard, your relationships, your resources, your network is extremely important. Not only to carry and cover and support your business, but even in this example, maybe knowing someone who knows someone who can make legitimate tests available, where your office, when the rest of the country is even struggling and challenging with testing, where your office can make sure all of your employees get tested. So a portion of that message is really about resources and network. And one of the things that I often tell our small businesses, throughout our entrepreneurship course. Networking is a good thing. Networking to me is a great thing. But at some point, your networking has to advantage your net worth. Networking has to advantage your net worth. There's a reason you're building or you have built relationships. And you hope that would lead you to the opportunities that would grow you and your business. So again, thank you for that question. And Chantel, thank you for that answer. Though it was not direct, indirectly, it speaks to the ideal of about relationships. Which business research sites do you recommend is another one of the questions. First of all, and a few of our speakers spoke to it, and we have an excellent office here down in Miami. I don't know how you feel about SBA across the country, but let me be crystal clear. Our Small Business Administration office in Miami, our partners and the individuals we work with there are extremely supportive and helpful for our business community, for my office. And again, many of the presenters also spoke to, take a look at all of the resources. Our office administers a federal program, DBE, ACDBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. I'm able to share with you, as well as my staff, anything that's happening that's relevant to the DBEs and ACDBEs and how to develop those businesses to get more opportunities on the federal side. We have the same here in Broward County in terms of SCORE, a group of individuals and professionals who have been entrepreneurs and business owners for years, who have actually taken the time to give back to educate businesses on startup, as well as scaling up their opportunities. We have a list of an alliance of resources for entrepreneurs in our office. You can go to our website, and on our website, we're gonna have the ARROW, that's the acronym, list of all the additional resources here in Broward County and some throughout South Florida, where individuals can get assistance with just bouncing their idea, entrepreneurial startups, the idea of revisiting your business plan, helping you to write a business plan, identifying where there's some financial resources, or again, just the idea, even during this COVID, of what are some of my pivoting opportunities? How do I engage these cities, Sandy, that you constantly talk about with this surtax, knowing that cities now are going to be procuring opportunities for infrastructure projects. And 30% of what the cities are going to be doing based on this surtax money, they must use certified small businesses. So again, we have resources. We have a list of resources on our county website that can help you based on different areas, even pre, during, or post-COVID. If you just want to know about resources in Broward that can help businesses on the state and the local side, we have those. You can certainly send me an email. And if you're talking more on the federal side or outside of the state of Florida, I can also make that information available to you as well. Is there an ongoing forum list of businesses that are still operational? From our office, we run our small business directory. And again, we don't have a formal list of businesses that are still operating and those who have closed. I do have the federal statute, state statute of a warn list of all the larger industries that have laid people off or have closed. We have to keep that tabulation as a part of a requirement. But certainly we can work with anyone if they were attempting to research to see who's been closed versus who opened. But someone also mentioned earlier in terms of one of the presenters about if you are that business, you have to make sure you're reaching out to your suppliers. You have to make sure you're reaching out to your customers. And you also have to make sure that you're branding and marketing to your potential customers about your operation, your safety, and your ability to still deliver. So again, making sure that folks know that you are open and operating and you're doing so safely is just as key as this person's question. Anyone in business, everyone who's a part of our listening audience, if you are a business, that should have been and still should be one of the first things you have done or did or will currently continue to do is to make sure all of those who you used to work with or used to work for or you used to target, they all need to know that you're still around. So that's a good question for a different reason. Every business has a role and responsibility now of bare minimum of two things. You have to let someone know you are open, and you have to let someone know you're open safely. That's how you can continue to market and promote yourself. Ms. Bell, let me check this one. So it looks as if that's it for our questions. So I again would like to thank every one of our speakers today for sharing your information. I want the listening audience as well as the speakers to know that our office is available. We're still open. We're doing virtual hours. That means you can call us, you can conference call. Staff has us doing these. We're doing Zooms, we're doing Skypes, we're doing meetings to go, we're doing micro team. I don't know which platform we're not doing, but it seems as if we're doing them all. I'm actually doing a workshop tonight for Davie, Cooper City's advisory board, their economic development advisory board. And again, we've been doing the trainings with all 31 cities to let them know about the small business program. Because as these cities roll out these surtax projects, whoever wins these bids, including my small businesses, they have to use small businesses. So we just want you to know we're here for you. Again, all of the contact information for each of our speakers will be on our county website today so that you can reach out to them if you like. And again, we're going to take a few of them and actually ask them to give us full stories of information that they want to share, and we'll also post that on our county website. So again, we want to thank you for joining us. Thank my speakers, my presenters for sharing today. We are certainly encouraging you all to address your business because it's always personal, even when it's professional. And you need to make the decision that works for you. But if we or any of our resources can be of assistance to you, we want to do so. So stay safe, stay strong here in Broward County. Please stay in business. And we thank you for joining us this morning. Have a good day and have a continued good year. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. McDonald.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. This was great.